Once upon a time, in a small town nestled in the heart of a lush valley, there lived a woman named Titi. She was a humble vendor who sold dried peppered meat from a small stand in the town's bustling market. Titi's meat was renowned throughout the town for its irresistible flavor and aroma. People would come from far and wide just to taste her mouth-watering delicacy. As soon as Titi's stand opened for business, a long line of customers would form, eagerly waiting to buy their favorite snack. The line would often stretch around the block, with people chatting and laughing as they waited for their turn. Titi's meat was that good, but what made Titi's meat so special? Was it the secret blend of spices she used? The tender love and care she put into preparing each piece? Or was it something more unusual? The truth was that Titi harbored a dark secret. She always squeezed milk from her big breast to boil the meat before frying, and that was what made it so delicious. The milk added a unique flavor to the meat that was impossible to resist. As the days went by, Titi's stand became more and more popular. People would come from all over just to taste her delicious meat. And Titi would smile and laugh, happy to see her customers enjoying her food, but there was one person who was not happy about Titi's success. A rival vendor named Rita who sold fried plantains from a nearby stand. Rita was jealous of Titi's popularity and was determined to find out her secret. Rita began to spy on Titi, watching her every move and trying to figure out what made her meat so special. She would often sneak into Titi's stand at night, searching for clues and trying to uncover her secret ingredient, but Titi was clever and always managed to stay one step ahead of Rita. She would often leave false clues and misleading hints, just to throw Rita off her trail. As the battle between Titi and Rita continued, the people of the town began to take sides. Some supported Titi and her delicious meat, while others supported Rita and her fried plantains, but Titi didn't let the rivalry get to her. She continued to sell her delicious meat, always smiling and laughing with her customers. And as the days went by, her stand became more and more popular. One day, Rita decided to take a different approach. She started monitoring Titi's every move, watching her from a distance and trying to catch her in the act. And then, one day, Rita finally caught Titi squeezing milk from her breast to boil the meat. Rita was shocked and amazed. She had never seen anything like it before. She quickly ran to the town square, shouting and screaming, telling everyone about Titi's dark secret. The people of the town were shocked and amazed. They had never suspected that Titi's meat was made with breast milk. Some people were disgusted, while others were fascinated. Titi was caught off guard. She didn't know what to say or do. She tried to defend herself, but it was too late. The damage had been done. The town elders were called to the scene, and they quickly convened a meeting to discuss Titi's actions. Titi was summoned to the meeting, and she was forced to confess, but Titi's confession was not what anyone expected. She told the town elders that she had collected a charm from a native doctor, a charm that made her breast produce milk frequently. She said that she had been using the charm to make her meat delicious, but she had never intended to deceive anyone. The town elders were shocked and amazed. They had never heard of such a charm before. They asked Titi to bring the charm to the meeting, and she quickly complied. As soon as the charm was produced, the native doctor who had given it to Titi was summoned to the meeting. He explained that the charm was a powerful one that would make anyone who used it successful in their endeavors, but the native doctor also warned that the charm came with a great cost. It would make the user dependent on it, and it would eventually destroy them if they were not careful. Then he vanished. Titi was banished from the town and warned never to return. Sadly, she went to a different town, rented a small mud house on the outskirts of town and set up her meat stand in front of it. Before long, the aroma of her fried meat wafted through the town, drawing in curious customers. People gathered around her stand, eager to taste her mouth-watering meat. Titi smiled and greeted each customer, her eyes twinkling with warmth. She worked tirelessly, cooking batch after batch of meat to meet the demand, but what the people of the town didn't know was that Titi was using her charmed breast milk to boil the meat. She would sneak away to express milk, which she would then use to cook the meat. The charm she had collected from the native doctor still worked its magic, and her breast continued to produce milk frequently. As the days turned into weeks, Titi's meat stand became a sensation in the town. People came from all over to taste her delicious meat, and she quickly became known as the best meat vendor in town. Children would follow her around, begging for scraps of meat, and adults would praise her cooking skills. Asking for her secret ingredient, Titi's fame even reached the local market women, who would often invite her to join their monthly market meetings. They would share stories of their sales and trade secrets, and Titi would listen intently, learning new ways to improve her business. But despite her success, Titi couldn't shake off the feeling of being an outcast. She had been banished from her previous town, and the memory of that humiliation still lingered. She knew that she had to be careful not to reveal her secret, or risk being ostracized again. One day, as Titi was setting up her stand, she noticed a strange woman watching her from across the street. The woman was tall and slender, with a scarf tied around her head. She seemed to be staring at Titi with an intensity that made her feel uneasy. Titi tried to brush off the feeling, focusing on her cooking instead. But as the day went on, she couldn't help but notice the woman again, this time standing closer to her stand. The woman's eyes seemed to bore into Titi's soul, and she felt a shiver run down her spine. The woman's gaze was unsettling, and Titi tried to avoid eye contact. She focused on serving her customers, but she could feel the woman's eyes on her. As the day wore on, the woman didn't leave. She stood there, watching Titi with an unnerving intensity. Titi began to feel anxious, wondering what the woman wanted. Just as Titi was starting to feel like she couldn't take it anymore, the woman finally approached her stand. "Titi," she said, her voice low and mysterious. "I've been watching you. I know what you're doing." Titi's heart skipped a beat. How did this woman know her secret? She tried to play it cool, but her hands were shaking as she served the next customer. The woman leaned in closer, her voice taking on a conspiratorial tone. "I'm not here to expose you, Titi. I'm here to offer you a deal. You see, I have a chief who is very interested in your unique cooking method. He's willing to pay top dollar for your services." Titi was taken aback. Who was this woman, and what kind of chief was she talking about? She didn't like the sound of this one bit. "I'm not interested," Titi said, trying to sound firm. The woman smiled, a cold, calculating smile. "Oh, I think you'll reconsider when you hear the offer. My chief is willing to pay you a small fortune for your services. And all you have to do is continue doing what you're doing." Titi felt a chill run down her spine. What kind of person would pay top dollar for her breast milk? And what did they plan to do with it? She shook her head, trying to clear her thoughts. "I'm not interested," she repeated. The woman's smile grew wider. "We'll see about that," she said, before turning and disappearing into the crowd. Titi was left feeling shaken and uneasy. Who was this woman, and what did she want from her? And what kind of chief was willing to pay top dollar for her breast milk? Titi couldn't shake off the feeling that she was in grave danger. She had a feeling that her life was about to change in ways she couldn't even imagine. She had always been careful to keep her secret hidden, but now it seemed like someone had discovered her secret. She wondered who this woman was and what she wanted from her. As she approached her small mud house, she noticed a piece of paper stuck to the door. And she walked closer and saw that it was a note, written in elegant handwriting. "Titi, we need to talk. Meet me at the old coconut tree at midnight. Come alone." Titi's heart skipped a beat as she read the note. Who was this person, and what did they want from her? She felt a sense of trepidation, but she also felt a sense of curiosity. She decided to go to the meeting, but she would be careful. That night, Titi made her way to the old coconut tree. The moon was full, casting a silver glow over the landscape. She saw a figure standing under the tree, and as she approached, she saw that it was the woman from the market. "Welcome, Titi," the woman said, her voice low and mysterious. "My name is Ngozi, and I represent a client who is interested in your unique cooking method." Titi felt a sense of unease, but she tried to stay calm. "What do you want from me?" she asked. Ngozi smiled, a cold, calculating smile. "My client is willing to pay you a handsome sum of money for your breast milk. He believes that it has medicinal properties that could be very valuable." Titi was taken aback. She had never heard of such a thing. "I'm not interested," she said, trying to sound firm. Ngozi's smile grew wider. "I think you'll reconsider when you hear the offer. My client is willing to pay you 1 million naira per month for your breast milk. And all you have to do is continue doing what you're doing." Titi's eyes widened in shock. 1 million naira was a fortune, and she could do a lot with that kind of money. But she was also wary of getting involved with these people. She didn't know what their true intentions were, and she didn't want to get caught up in something that could harm her. "I need time to think about it," Titi said, trying to stall. Ngozi nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "I understand. But let me make one thing clear, my client is not a patient man. He wants an answer soon, and if you don't give him the answer he wants, there will be consequences." Titi felt a chill run down her spine. She didn't like the sound of this one bit. She nodded, trying to appear calm, and turned to leave. As Titi walked away from the meeting with Ngozi, she couldn't shake off the feeling of unease. She felt like she was being pulled into a world that she didn't understand, a world where people would stop at nothing to get what they wanted. She thought about Ngozi's words, about the client who was willing to pay her 1 million naira per month for her breast milk. As she walked, Titi noticed that she was being followed. She saw a figure lurking in the shadows, a figure that seemed to be watching her every move. She quickened her pace, but the figure kept pace with her, always staying just out of sight. Titi's heart was racing as she approached her small mud house. She fumbled for the key, her hands shaking with fear. She unlocked the door and slipped inside, locking it behind her. She leaned against the door, trying to catch her breath. She felt like she was in danger, like she was being haunted. She didn't know what to do, or where to turn. Despite her initial reservations, Titi eventually agreed to supply breast milk to Ngozi. She rationalized that it was just a small sacrifice to make. Ngozi was overjoyed when Titi agreed, and she quickly arranged for a driver to come and collect the breast milk from Titi's house every day. At first, everything seemed to be going well. Titi made lots of money, and she was even able to save some money for the future. But as time went on, she began to notice that her breast milk was not being used for its intended purpose. Ngozi would often come to her house, accompanied by strange men who would take the breast milk away in large containers. Titi started to feel uneasy, and she began to wonder what was really going on. She tried to confront Ngozi, but Ngozi just brushed her off, telling her that she didn't need to know what the breast milk was being used for. As the months went by, Titi's health began to deteriorate. She was constantly exhausted, and her breast milk was starting to dry up. She knew that she had to get out of the situation, but she didn't know how. One day, Titi received a visit from a group of officials from the local health department. They told her that they had received reports of a woman in the area who was selling her breast milk to a group of people who were using it for nefarious purposes. Titi was shocked and ashamed. She realized that she had been duped by Ngozi, and that her breast milk had been used to harm people. She felt a deep sense of regret and remorse, and she knew that she had to make things right. But it was too late. She was finally told the truth about what had been done with her breast milk. It turned out that Ngozi's client was a powerful and wealthy individual who had been using the breast milk to create a potent and addictive substance. The substance, known as Momo's milk, was a highly sought-after commodity in the underground market. It was said to have the power to induce a deep sense of relaxation and euphoria, making it highly addictive. Ngozi's client had been using Titi's breast milk to create this substance, which he then sold to desperate and vulnerable individuals. The officials told Titi that she had unknowingly contributed to the suffering and addiction of countless people. Titi was horrified and ashamed. She had never imagined that her breast milk could be used for such a nefarious purpose. She realized that she had been exploited and manipulated by Ngozi and her client, and that she had played a part in perpetuating a cycle of addiction and suffering. The officials took Titi away, and she was charged with a crime. She spent several years in prison with hard labor. The moral of the story is that greed and desperation can lead us down a path of destruction. Titi's desire for wealth had led her to make a decision that ultimately destroyed her life. The story also highlights the importance of being mindful of our actions and their consequences. Titi's decision to sell her breast milk had seemed like a small thing at the time, but it had ultimately led to her downfall. In the end, Titi's story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of greed and the importance of living a life of integrity. Food for thought: how far would you go to make money? What sacrifices would you make, and what would be your non-negotiables? What drives people to make choices that compromise their values and integrity? How can we support those who are struggling to make ends meet? Thanks for watching. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section, and do not forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with your friends and loved ones. See you soon. Bye for now.